Okay, so we're continuing our class about Beis Habechirah, the chosen home of Hashem. Yesterday we learned the essence of the mitzvah, we defined the mitzvah, and we also talked about the historical evolution of this mitzvah, how this mitzvah was fulfilled. And today we are going to talk about Mikdash basics. What makes a Beis HaMikdash a Beis HaMikdash? Let's make simple. What makes a home a home? What do you need to have a home? If you have a home without a kitchen, is it still considered a home? If you have a home without closet space, do you need a bedroom? So questions, what do we need in a Beis HaMikdash? Says the Rambam, beginning with the fifth halacha, Ve'elohin advarim shehin ikar bevinyan habayis. These are the things which are absolutely necessary. These are the basics. It doesn't mean you can't go beyond basics, but these are the basics that a Beit HaMikdash would have to have for it to be able to be called a Beit HaMikdash, the special chosen home of Hashem. Number one, there's going to be an area which is considered to be the inner sanctum. And then there's going to be within that inner sanctum a Kodesh HaKadoshim, a sanctum within the sanctum. So there's a holy area, an area of scrimmage, some kind of building or some kind of structure, which is called Kodesh, is called holy, and then there's a Holy of Holies. The Yul Lefnei HaKodesh, in front of this area called the Kodesh, which literally means holy. You have another area which is called the Ulam, it's like a hall or a foyer. So in other words, you don't just walk from the door, you don't walk straight into the holies like it is in most people's homes. You have kind of like an area in the front, like a hallway, and then from the hallway, that's when you come into the living room, dining room, and so on and so forth. Now, all these three together are known as Heichal. Heichal would freely translate it as sanctuary. Sometimes the Sephardic Jews will refer to the Aron Kodesh as the Heichal, but that's euphemistic. It's based on this idea. Now, says the Rambam, there needs to be an additional barrier or a wall that's put up. And this is around the Heichal, but at some distance. And it's in the image of the Mishkan that was built by Moshe Rabbeinu in the desert. So there was these krushim, these wood boards that were fastened together. And then there was curtains, various skins and brocades that were placed on top. And it was like a little building. And then there was a courtyard, a demarcation of a courtyard. So that area of scrimmage is called, it's in the image of these kalei hachotzer, v'chol hamukef v'mechitza, everything which is encircled in this wall or in this barrier, which is ke'ein chatzar ol hamoed, in the image of the courtyard of the ol hamoed, the tent of meeting which Moshe Rabbeinu had in the Sinai desert, hu hanikra azara. In Beis HaMikdash language, that's called azara. V'hakoil, this entire compound, which includes a fenced-in area or a walled-in area, which is like a courtyard, and inside that's called an azara. And inside that there is a building, and the building has a foyer or an entranceway, and then there's an area called Kodesh, which is a holy sanctum, and then the inner holy sanctum, the Holy of Holies. So all of that together is called Mikdash, which also freely translates as sanctuary. The holy sanctuary. So we say Beit HaMikdash means the house of sanctuary. This is the compound which serves as Hashem's special home. In the Mikdash, there are different things you need. A person has in his home, you need a kitchen, you need pots and pans, you need an oven, you need a refrigerator, you need beds, you need a table, you need a chair, the various things you need. What do you need to have in a Beis HaMikdash? So the answer is, you have Shiva Kalim. There are 7 basic instruments, artifacts, which are necessary. This is the furniture of the Beis HaMikdash. Functional furniture, that is to say, in the image of a stove, a fridge or something like that. We need a mizbeach la'olah. There needs to be an altar upon which is going to be offered burnt offerings, the ascent offerings, and the other offerings. But the primary offering we talk about is the olah, which is an ascent offering, goes entirely heavenward. Then we have to have a kevesh, a ramp, which goes up to this special altar. Its place is before the ulam. The ulam, remember, is that building which included Kodesh HaKadoshim, Holy of Holies, holy, and a foyer in front of that area, in a manner that's Mashuach L'Darim, moved slightly to the south, because the Beis HaMikdash itself faces west and east. This is moved slightly to the south. That's where the place of the Mizbeach is. The Kiyar Vakano, a wash basin, the purpose of that is L'Kadesh Mimeno HaKohanim Yadeim V'Ragleim. The Kohanim will sanctify themselves, and they will prepare for the Avodah by rinsing hand and foot. Umekomo, and the place of that special wash basin, a wash area, is also to the south. It's between the ulam, between this structure, this large structure, and the mizbeach, which would be at the left of entering. So the actual structure was on the west side of the Temple Mount. So if you were heading west and walking into the ulam, you would see the mizbeach on your left, as well as the kiyar v'kano, the wash basin, which would be set in between the heichal and the mizbeach. The Rambam goes on to say, inside the sanctum, there needs to be a mizbeach lektoret, an altar whose function and purpose is that incense should be brought upon it. There's a menorah, Everybody's very familiar with that, the golden candelabra. And finally, there is a shulchan, there is a special table. Shlashtan, these three are in the area called Kodesh and the area called Holy, but it is Lifnei the Kodesh HaKadoshim. And what is the order? The menorah is Badarom. The menorah would be on the south side. Mismol HaNichnas, on the left side of the person who's walking in. Shulchan, the table, will be Miyamin, on the right side. And upon it will be placed the showbreads, and we'll talk about the showbreads at a later period, exactly what that is, but special showbreads, which would be heaped or piled upon in a very orderly fashion upon this table. There they would remain all week. On the Shabbat would be a switchover, and that was the special avodah. That was the service to Hashem that we performed. All of this is to the area closer to the Kodesh HaKadoshim. The outer area, the first part of the Kodesh, is empty. When you come a little bit closer towards your left, you're going to have the menorah. Towards your right, you have the shulchan. And then, set between the two, a little bit closer to where the person enters, he would see the small altar upon which was brought the ketoret. Both of these are set. All these three are set back in the second half, and the menorah and shulchan are on either side. The mizbech, the ketoret, mizbech upon which the incense was brought daily, that was set forward, that was be closer to when you entered. The osim besocha azara gvulim, in the azara, which we talked about as this big courtyard, there are lines of scrimmage. Ad kan li Yisrael, up until this point is where regular Jewish people can go, regular Yisraelim. And then comes Kohanim, a place where only Kohanim can go. And then we have a line of scrimmage. Ad kan, until here, the Kohanim can go. And at a certain point, even the Kohanim cannot go unless they have something to do there, unless they actually belong there. Ubonim babatim, the Rambam says, in this azara area, there are various structures. In various homes, or home is a euphemism, it means like an office. Various places, rooms, which are tzarchei hamikdash, for the purposes of what has to happen in the Beit Hamikdash. Kol bayit mehem, all of those little structures would be called a lishka, which in modern Hebrew is kind of like an office. So, but these were purposeful rooms, built for special purposes, in which the temple services, things would be restored, things would be handled, certain things had to be made or prepared. All of this would be done in these little rooms all around the Azara. And that, my dear friends, is the Mikdash basics. And from here we will move forward, Bezrat Hashem, tomorrow and learn about the manner of construction. How did they build that Mikdash? Thank you for joining us. Michael.